Guys, this is JP Karliak. I am super excited. JP does a lot of amazing voices, including Boss Baby, that I so want to get into. Dante Crescendo from Trolls. He's in Kozo Fuyutsuki.
Mm-hmm. Fuyutsuki.
Fuyutsuki? Cool.
Uh-huh.
Wile E. Coyote? Oh my God. You're also in Wizard of Oz, which you didn't mention, and I did some, snooping. And so I've learned a lot of really, really
Such a
cool
good show.
projects you
show.
work on. So
Yeah.
let's give him a big round of applause.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Stop. No, continue. No, thank you.
So let's start from the very beginning. You're from Pennsylvania, correct?
Scranton.
Scranton.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But you've lived in San Francisco, you lived in New York. In a little nutshell, kind of bring us through what took you to all this stuff, and weave into that when you discovered that you love doing voices or characters, or when the acting bug hit you.
Yes. I have relatives in San Francisco. I have not lived there, but
okay. I know you did the Fringe there, so I was.
Oh yeah.
Okay, got it.
Sorry.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I grew up in Scranton, technically Dunmore, Pennsylvania, but I say Scranton because that's the one that everybody still knows. But grew up there. Went to college in D.C. for a couple of years. Then I came out here to finish up at USC. Fight on. And I've been here ever since. So 20 years.
20 years.
It's a long time. But yeah, I came out here to be an on-camera actor. That was the whole thing. And started doing some roles in that. But I always did funny voices. But for some reason, it never, I loved cartoons. I grew up with Looney Tunes. I loved all that. But for some reason, it never clicked in my brain. Oh, that's a career. I can make money at that. I always thought it was this is something that famous people do on the side, but make no money at it and just do it for fun. So I have to get famous first, and then I can do this.
Yeah.
And then, I had friends who were studying animation. I did some short films with them. Their professors were loving the work I was doing. And I was like, oh, okay, so maybe there's a possibility here. So one of my teachers at USC was Kelly Ward, who's an awesome, not only an amazing musical theater professor, but he's also a director on a lot of animated shows that people have seen.
Oh, cool.
And I talked to him, and he was like, all right, I would need you to study with this person, to this person, to this person. And one of them was Bob Bergen. I studied with him. He became my mentor.
Holy cow. Guys, Bob Bergen's the voice of Porky Pig. So which was the first role that you booked? Mine was a really boring Spanish radio commercial that was fun because it paid me, but it wasn't exciting. What was the first voice acting role that you were like, oh, cool, this character, I'm really proud of, and it's exciting. I get to go drive on to the Disney lot or to the whatever lot. Or
well, the first role I booked, and I don't know if I would say it was the most exciting thing in the world, but I mention it just because it pays off in the end.
Yeah.
So the first role was for a video game called Tom Clancy's World in Conflict, and basically a war, modern day war game thing where, the Russians invade us through Portland. And I was in the cutscenes, and I played this plucky on the street weather reporter who just happens to be there when the Russians invade. So he becomes the default on the ground, guy as the bombs and crap is going off and all that. And I had a couple sessions for that, and, I was in it a bunch. I think at some point they decided that it was just too light for warfare. So they took those cutscenes out completely and replaced them with basically sort of a thoughtful description of the theater of war and what was happening in the movements, voiced by Alec Baldwin. So it's kind of all gone full circle to later replace him.
As you said, by Alec Baldwin, I heard that Alec coming through. So you do Boss Baby.
That's
well,
right.
Let's just jump to that because we're there.
Sure.
Were you doing an impression of Alec before, and you're like, oh, I can do this easily, or you tried to match him for the Boss Baby audition? How did that go down?
It's a little secret, Carolina. I still don't do Alec Baldwin. I actually think I'm doing a very good Will Arnett doing Alec Baldwin.
Okay.
It just happened to match what they were looking for.
Yeah.
Because I from college on, I just was a huge Will Arnett fan. We were watching Arrested Development and, and a lot of the shows that he was doing. So it was, always like, it's magic, Michael. I'm doing magic. Pow. Like.
Well, I hear it though, magic. Like you have that gravel.
Yeah, and then really the difference between Will Arnett and Alec Baldwin, like there is a vocal difference, but it's just a kind of a tempo difference and just sort of like the cadence a little bit. Alec just sort of speaks a little bit like Shatner, where there's pauses and it just sort of breaks up like that.
It's very Alec Baldwin-y, believe me. It's not so Will Arnett-y doing Alec Baldwin.
For the first few episodes, especially that first season, I think we were really. It was hard, and I feel like a lot of it was just really trying to get into the Baldwin-y zone. But like so many shows that are based on something else, it starts in that place, but over time, it's just. It's my version of Boss Baby.
Totally.
Which will be very different when the new movie comes out, and people will be like, "Oh, right, that's how he did it."
That's how he did it.
But I do it.
Yeah,
we just do it differently. I read for all of the whole roster of male characters for that first season. And there was a villain character who had sort of this southern effeminate drawl thing. And I was like, oh, I'm booking that. That's the one I'm going to get. If I get any of these, it'll be that one. And
he owns a bar.
He owns the pineapple restaurant. He loves the cats. Bootsy Calico.
Oh my God.
I'm doing a crap impersonation of Jake Green's version of it, who did book it. Jake kills that role. But yeah, so I just did, I just went in doing Boss Baby being like, I don't think this is exactly it, but I'm going to have a good time.
We do a one woman. So used to
it's actually a one-man, two-woman show, so you're not wrong.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
I do like a one woman web series, but I have time to put makeup on, change the characters, shoot the stuff. Right. You're on stage probably for 45 minutes to an hour or more doing a thing like that. I'm a little scared shitless of one man shows because it's an incredible amount of work as a performer. How did this come about? How did it go at the Fringe? What tell me the premise of it.
Sure. It's funny the way you put it that way, because I got so many compliments after I would do the show from people who were like, I hate solo shows. I hate them. Yours was good. I'm like, okay, well, that's something.
No, I like solo shows. I'm scared of performing.
Oh, no. But it just,
them. Oh, okay.
No, it just reminded me of that. But so I wrote that show in 2009 during I didn't have a lot going on, and I had always wanted to write a tribute to my two mothers. And when I say my two mothers, I mean I'm adopted. I was raised by my mom, and shortly after college, I found and developed a relationship with my birth mother, who is still very much a part of my life. And they're very, very, very different people. And so my mom, who raised me, is very much an Italian Catholic housewife from Scranton, who's, just very sweet and, very unassuming. So she's the Donna Reed of this story. And then there's my birth mom, who's a fashion designer, was married to a British soap star and everything, and she's the Madonna of the story. So between the two of them, that's me. And it's a whole story about them.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you act out their roles.
Yeah. So my mom has a little bit more of a Scranton accent, which is it's Scranton accent is almost like a little Minnesota. It's a little bit Boston. It's a little bit New York. It's a little bit Baltimore.
A little bit everything.
It's a little bit of the bad of all of it. It's just such a. And my birth mother, she, after, having lived with her British husband for a certain period of time, she sort of picked up a little bit of his British, almost like in that Madonna accent-y kind of way. So, she's just got the slightest little bit of a British accent, but it's not a big deal, whatever,
Talk to me about Wile E. Coyote. As a kid, I thought his name was Wiley, Wiley.
A lot of people think that. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you.
It's so hilarious. I love you. Who doesn't love his hair? Um, tell me about booking that because that's also another one of those geek things that if I booked the Roadrunner or something, I'd be pretty freaking happy.
Yeah, Wiley. I don't know if I ever would have pegged Wiley. I mean, we know our careers never go the way that we quite predict. And I think when I was a kid, I was always like, if I'm anything, I'm a Bugs Bunny. But then I just so naturally fit into the slot of Wiley. Like, Bugs is actually pretty hard for me to do. Like, all the voices that Bowser is killing it at, he's killing it at. He's doing a great job.
Yeah, exactly. What does your Wiley sound like? If the chat could have a
Wiley Coyote, super genius. Pleasure to be with you today. The benefit of so when I auditioned for Wiley, it was for the new Looney Tunes, which was not the HBO show. It was the one prior to that was on Boomerang and Cartoon Network. And the direction that they gave was, listen to what Mel sounded like, but you're not beholden to what Mel did because nobody really remembers what the original Wiley sounded like, or they have like a vague inkling. So I got to be a little bit more freer with it than if I was like doing Yosemite Sam or Bugs or Daffy,
Yeah.
And, I just kind of went with something that felt very somewhere in the realm of Mel's Wiley, but also Sideshow Bob and, just all of these very sticky, smarmy, astute people,
They say you
Jafar,
sound like Snape. Yeah. Or like Snape in Harry Potter. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All those things.
I have yet to be a series regular on a cartoon where I can just be like, hey guys, what's up? It's Monday and here we are,
Right.
Which I feel like you probably also did with The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. I mean, it was all the time. That show, we recorded a lot of episodes. Like, so we were in almost every week. And just such a good group. And just such a group.
Is your Tin Man, again, was there a reference before? Was it an audition?
They kind of wanted the original, the Judy Garland movie. So I listened to that, and basically it's just a very light mid-Atlantic accent and just being extra sweet. But just like I was talking about with Boss Baby, the character evolved over time for me, where he went from just a very soft and and light character to being so much more
Nathan Laney.
Yeah. Well, when the Schnecken beckons. Yeah.
Talk to me about Dante Crescendo.
Yes. Well, so the one thing that I loved about the audition for Trolls is Trolls. The show is Trollstopia, which is on Peacock and Hulu.
Yeah.
It is a continuation of Trolls the Beat Goes On, which was the So when they were casting the show, I was asked to sing very specifically Andrea Bocelli's Conte Partiro.
Conte.
That's the one. I can't sing. I'm not a tenor, if you haven't noticed. And Andrea Bocelli is. And they didn't. The way they phrased it in the audition sides was, please sing a sample of Conte Partiro as made famous by Andrea Bocelli. So I'm like, okay, so you're just referencing who made it famous, but you're not saying that I have to sing that version.
Exactly.
Bingo. So guess who else covered it? Donna Summer.
My God.
Yes. So Donna Summer had a version that was way lower, or at least, way more comfortable for me, and also had a dance beat. So I just did that version, and I booked it. And I mean, I did it with like zero. I am not operatically trained. But
you're a singer.
I consider myself an Ethel Merman singer. I don't sing pretty, but I sing loud. So so I was like, great, let's just do what we got, and it worked.
Could you give me an example of how that went?
Do not be afraid. You're my breath, the air I breathe. You are my imagination. Yeah, it was all that nonsense.
What's a character that sounds very different to a lot of what you've thrown at me that you love and that is just so maybe unlike something that you usually book?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a couple. One, I did this little web series called Marvel Rising, where I played a few different Marvel characters. I played a bunch of Marvel characters, not in major things, little random shorts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been super fun. And I liked playing the Wrecker. I mean, he's so much fun. You know, like, because
wow.
if there's a through line for most of my characters, it's that they all are at the very least college educated. And I just loved playing somebody who's so stupid, you know, like.
Yes. Thank you so much, JP, for coming on. I knew of you. I see what you post on Insta. You interviewed me. This is an excuse for me to get to know people better because I'm still newish to LA. And like, you are so talented and multifaceted and funny. Thank you for letting me hang with you.
Girl, let us hang out like in the real face. I mean, Courtney basically has turned her back patio into like our makeshift bar. So like if you ever want to get together in the back patio and chill.
Guys, thanks for watching and keep booming and booping.